Welcome to this introduction video for my playthrough of the Scarlet Keys as part of the campaign Playalong of the MythosBusters Discord server. This video is going to serve as a bit of an introduction to the campaign Playalong, as well as deck building for the two investigators I'm going to be bringing through the Scarlet Keys. So the campaign Playalong is an event hosted by the MythosBusters Discord server in which members of the community play through a single campaign, and one of the things that makes it particularly cool is that it uses a limited card pool. So instead of being able to use any player cards you would like from any expansion, you instead have to only use cards from a revised core set, plus the 5 Investigator starter decks, plus the current campaign, in this case the Scarlet Keys Investigator expansion. You can still pick any Investigator you would like for your deck building, but you have to only use player cards from those sets that I listed. And that's something that makes it a little more tricky because you have to, use more cards from the current expansion generally and explore a bit more of the different opportunities available there. And you don't just get to use all the staples that you might normally put into your decks, so it requires you to be a little more creative and use cards that you might otherwise not consider. So we're going to be playing the Scarlet Keys. One thing that I'm going to try to do to make my particular playthrough more interesting is I'm going to be playing all 10 scenarios in a single campaign, which is possible, but requires a very specific route. I think this will be pretty cool because I haven't seen anybody else do a 10 scenario campaign of Scarlet Keys or talk about what that's like. I certainly haven't seen any recordings of it. So if you're interested in seeing what that route looks like, I hope you'll follow along with me and I'll do my best to steer us to a successful resolution. All right, so for the rest of this video, I'm going to go ahead and do my deck building. I thought a bit about what investigators I want to bring. You can use anybody you want, though of course the card pool is rather limited. I've decided for my clue character, I'm going to go for Finn Edwards because I really like him and because the Scarlet Keys adds a lot of cool cards for him. One of the cards that I really want to try this time that I've never used before is Damning Testimony, which is a pretty good card. It allows him to investigate. Basically, you have to have an enemy in play, and then you get to investigate both your location and the enemy's location simultaneously, almost. Kind of like that. And it's customizable, so there's all kinds of different things you can do to improve it. It's kind of like a weird Survivor fingerprint kit, but it'll work pretty well with Finn due to his evasion abilities. So we're going to give this a try. It's also illicit, of course, so Finn can bring it all the way to level 10, even though he normally can only go to level 3 rogue cards. So that's pretty good. And then as for the rest of his deck, it's going to be some pretty standard stuff. I'm pretty sure I already set my collection correctly. Yep. So we should just be able to choose what we want. I'm not going to do too much fighting in Finn because Nathaniel is a crazy good fighter, so Finn won't need to do too much, but I am going to pack in a Derringer and plan to get the upgrade just so we can have a nice little solid simple gun. It gives +2, so that gets Finn to 5, which is really, really good enough for most fighting that someone who was only fighting a little bit would need to do. It's pretty similar actually to his own gun, which is a little better, but about the same. All right, then we need to start grabbing more cards. I'll take that's pretty good. After we investigate or evade, which we'll be doing a lot, we can play an item, reducing its cost some. So we'll definitely do I'll take that. We're going to definitely take some lockpicks and some cigarette cases. Of course, one of Finn's big problems is he only has 1 willpower, so we're going to need to think about how to handle that. I think for the first scenario, we're just going to get beat up a lot on that. And then later we might be able to get the cards we need to really contest it properly. I don't think there's too much horror going on in the very first scenario, so we shouldn't have to worry about dying. Later, we're going to want Liquid Courage, which is from Winifred's deck, so it's legal for this card pool. We're going to want this in our Underworld Market deck. Sure. We're definitely going to put a bunch in the neutral skills because they're pretty good and because we can use a lot of them. One card that I think is a little underrated, well, I think a lot of people know it's good, but this could be particularly good for Finn, is Grizzled, and I'm going to spend 2 of my 5 off-class slots on this. So Grizzled is basically a 1 wild skill, but it becomes a 3 wild skill against certain traits, and you get to choose which traits it's good against here. So I'm going to put Terror and Hex, because there's a decent number of Terror and Hex willpower cards. For example, Frozen in Fear or Rotting Remains are both terrors, so with this, Finn gets +3 to them, so he can be 4 versus 3. Then he just needs like a Guts or a Courage in order to actually beat a Frozen in Fear. And given that there's just not that many options in this card pool to deal with those, such as Logical Reasoning, which I would normally take, or Savant with upgrade points, we're going to use Grizzled instead. Basically, it's just a protection card. There's not too many skills I love, but I'll put in a Nimble and a Calculated Risk. For my ally, I'm going to go with use some more off-class slots on Dr. Milan. Derringer's illicit, so it doesn't actually count against his 5 off-class cards. Dr. Milan's pretty boring, but I mean, what are you going to do, right? I think in the future, I'm planning to go for Triggerman, who I've never tried before, because that'll be kind of a fun one. And of course, we're going to get Charisma for that. And our side deck's already starting to look pretty good. I think I want Sneak Attacks, just to deal a little bit of damage. Sneak By is not bad. I could see it. I'll put it in for now, and we'll think about it more. All right, so let's go through everything again. Definitely want 1 Embezzled Treasure, and we're already at deck size limit, which is not great. Normally I would run Pickpocketing, but I think it's not that great in this campaign because it doesn't work on exposing concealed cards. That doesn't count as evading an enemy, so you don't get a card for that. Definitely want to try kicking the Hornet's Nest if we can. I've never played Quick Getaway. I think it's kind of bad. I think it's probably not very good in Finn either because we already get a free evasion, so maybe not that. I'll play with Taboo on. I think it shouldn't change much for me, just Milan and maybe Elusive, which we're not going to be using anyway. Let's just tick all these boxes real quick and take one more look. I guess we have one more off-class card too. Wow, there's not much, huh? Disguise, it's like alright, you know, but do we really need it? Maybe we'll try 1 copy. I feel like we're going to run out of space for stuff, and we're not going to have very much money. We are pretty skill heavy. We have Dr. Milan for money, and we don't need that much stuff to be effective, so it might work out okay. We have a lot of hands, but I think it's not going to be a problem, especially once we get Triggerman, who basically gives you... Oh, does he not give you a hand slot? I thought he did, but that's okay. Even without Triggerman, we should still be okay. Even without an extra hand slot from Triggerman, that is. Nimble's like not crazy, right? Scarlet Keys maps are fairly small, so we'll just go to 1 Nimble. Sneak By is not like crazy either, it's just extra money. How much am I going to be struggling for money? It feels like we've got some economy cards here. Dr. Milan, Embezzled Treasure becomes economy later, in a way. I don't really know about Disguise. I'm just thinking of trying it. It'll be a good card to put in the Underworld Market deck later, and I guess it's decent with Finn, right? You get to base 6. It's pretty nice. We don't really have that much agility boosting in this card pool, so we're going to go with that for now. Then we just need to cut 1 more card. So what do we drop here? I might not really be rich enough for Embezzled Treasure. I just put it here because it might be good later as an Underworld Market thing. There's no adaptable, so I won't be able to swap it in if I drop it now. Maybe 1 courage. I know. It's lame to always cut courage, but that's definitely what I'm going to do. So we'll try this. Try that for Finn. Looks solid enough to me, just a straightforward deck at the beginning, and then it upgrades pretty nicely. Damning Testimony becomes interesting. We grab Underworld Market, some Triggerman, get some Triggerman plus Triggerman action can help us use our... He's not really doing much. I guess he just gives you extra actions, right? Extra actions are pretty good. I guess he's better with the guns than Finn is. He can at least shoot our Derringer for us. But yeah. Let's try building Nathaniel now, which should be pretty straightforward, I imagine. I don't actually know if there's that much Scarlet Key stuff that Nathaniel wants or needs. Ooh, I forgot about Greet. Greet's really expensive, but it certainly is a powerful card. Either way, we'll start with this for sure. Let's put in all the events that we know are good, which is a lot of them. Bolas, Evade, huh? You know, this is kind of interesting. I've never used it before, so sure. Reach the door. Do we need it? Maybe. Clean them out. Counterpunch. Dodge, maybe. Is it a spirit card? Nope, it's not. You'd think I'd know that by now, but I definitely don't. Glory's pretty good. Evidence, sure. I'm not going to use Grievous Wound, not even here. Monster Slayer, Motivational is fine, maybe. 1-2 punch, absolutely. Stand together, absolutely. And hey, our deck's done. That's Nathaniel in a nutshell, isn't it? I guess we can put in a few allies. It'd be nice to get Greet. We can Motivational Greet. We're going to need a lot of money for this, right? Probably want some encounter protection. You know, it's kind of surprising he only has 2 agility. Obviously, it's a requirement. I guess he could have had an intellect point, but, you know, I feel like boxers are pretty agile, you know? Safeguard's a pretty good card, maybe a one of. I think motivational speech maybe not needed, though. It's pretty good. If we plan to get charisma and maybe get upgraded beat cops or something, but that's kind of played out, isn't it? Getting both greet and beat cop and just upgrading them. So the question is if I want greet or beat cop. Beat cop's pretty good against the campaign once he upgrades, so he's not stellar right now. Motivational speech we might not be able to afford very well. Or sorry, we might not need it for greet, but also if we don't have it, greet might be too expensive. Good play, Shotcaster. Don't think so, though. Any good skills to give a try? Nothing crazy. Put some of these in for now. And we gotta drop a lot. Do we really need to overpower? I mean, probably not. Nathaniel's pretty strong without it. Even though it's just a good generic card, we don't need it that bad. Whether we need evidence or not is a pretty good question, because how good is Finn actually at getting clues? Is he fast enough? I feel like he's not bad. Don't know if we really need Bolus is kind of interesting, right? It kind of combos with damning testimony, so I'm down to give it a try because it at least does something cool. Let's skip evidence. We'll try breach the door. They kind of fulfill a similar purpose in that it lets anyone investigate. Breach the door makes me wish I had overpower back, but it's okay. We'll make do without it. So how much did these cost, really? It's not that expensive. I'm going to ditch motivational speech. I think we're going to be okay on these. I definitely thought about Hunter's Armor. How do I feel about the soak we have here? Willpower soak could be a little better. There's definitely some scenarios in this campaign which are just like deal a lot of damage and horror. We'll put this over here for now, and we'll assume that maybe it'll come in. Let me look at the upgrades available. Definitely gonna get those eventually. Garish Kadaki could be a fun one. Upgraded Greet potentially. Martyrs of Embraces. I haven't actually used this card very much. I don't think it's that great, but it's like okay for him, I guess. Of course, a lot of events are crazy good in Nathaniel, so we're definitely going to grab some of these at a later point. This is in the revised core? Interesting, I never knew. No sticks to the plan, unfortunately. That'd be pretty good, though. I don't really feel the need to prepare for the worst to look for my boxing gloves. I'll just draw them or not draw them, and that's life. There's 3 copies of the Randall Cho. And if we prepared for the worst and don't find them, then it feels pretty awful, so we're just not going to do that. Wow, not many options, huh, for the upgrades. But Hunter's Armor we can sink a lot of XP into Hunter's Armor if we want to, so it should be fine. What's the other Guardian customizable? Is it okay, yeah, it's a gun card, so definitely not. Definitely not gonna make the cut. We just gotta drop one more card here. I'm always tempted to do it, but I'm gonna leave that in this time. Let's go with one of these breach the doors, perhaps. Maybe one of the bolas. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Is there any other assets we would want in this deck? I don't really think so. Is physical training level 4 in this card pool? It is. I feel like that's worth considering later. It's a pretty solid card, I think. I don't really think first aid's necessary. None of these, none of these. So I think this is about where I want it. Let's just get rid of one card. These are both Scarlet Keys cards, so I want to keep them if I can because they're kind of interesting, right? So maybe we'll just drop a cash, and we'll give this a shy. Give this a shot, a shy try plus shot. All right, so these are the decks we'll be bringing along, like this. Look pretty good to me. So we'll give these guys a try. We're going to play Riddles and Rain first, of course, like everyone does. Oh, I have to do my random basic weaknesses, so let's go ahead and randomize those and see how bad it is. What you got? Amnesia. That's pretty rough, but we'll make do, I guess. Paranoia, lose all your money. All right, that's fine. I don't love Amnesia, especially Nathaniel. You know, discard all your events is super bad, but it is what it is. We will deal with it. All right, so these are the decks. That's it for this video, and next time I'll be playing Riddles and Rain. So please come check it out. Later.